what's good, people? It's your man, CJ Fresh, battling the forces of whackness since 1982. You are now listening to the Solid Podcast, hosted by my main man,
Sudokrew によるザ・ソリッドポッドキャストをお届けいたします。
This is the dumbest thing to take this long to put a podcast together.
That will end, and it'll end soon, believe me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Solid Podcast, episode 7. It's kind of funny. I just released episode 6 like an hour ago, and then we're recording episode 7. That's Spencer. What's your name?
Spencer Toyama.
Nice. Is that anything like the car company?
Yeah. It's pretty much the same thing, except for anthuriums.
Anthuriums? What's the anthurium?
Oh, no. My grandfather grew anthuriums on the Big Island. So he has a flower named after him because he was like he would crossbreed flowers that like a lot of the farmers out there.
I'm a crossbreed.
Yeah. Not that kind.
Not that kind. All right, cool. So, it's been a minute since we had a guest, and Spencer and I used to work together back in the day, and I was like, man, of all the people, the crazy conversations we used to have at the GH at night or our random like alcoholing ventures, I was like, yo, that's a dude I got to get on the show.
Well, it's been, I feel like we don't catch up enough.
No.
And who's the last guest you had?
Lanai.
Was Lanai?
Yeah.
And then before that was Titus?
Yeah, the Titus and Doc show was an experiment where we just acted like hella retarded for a couple of minutes. And yeah, that's one of the buzzwords people hate, but sorry, deal with it. You know what I mean.
Okay, wow, it's okay. I'm not as popular as they are.
You're a lie. All right, so first let me do some house maintenance, move these keys before I accidentally bang into stuff during the middle of the show. I feel like I should have worn my hat because my bald spot is showing, but that's okay. We're going in there.
We love you for that bald spot, though. It's charming. It makes you approachable.
I got to do my best not to laugh really loud in the mic because I'm super good at that, and that kind of causes trouble. So let me fix that just a touch. All right, so first of all, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So my name is Spencer Toyama, and I run a small software development shop out here in Hawaii. We build web apps and mobile apps and like to experiment with new technology. So fun stuff, like really want to do some machine learning stuff would be cool.
Oh, machine learning. Wow, that's cool. Do you have a regular expression guy in your spot?
No, not yet.
Right, that's cool stuff. But let's not get nerdy because we can get hella nerdy, and then people that on the other side of the podcast will be like, "What the heck were those two talking about?" So you talk about apps and stuff. Like, what do you mean by apps? What kind of apps are you guys making?
So we built some software for like Blue Planet Energy. That's one that we're proud of, or it's a fun one. It basically manages batteries for like. Consumer batteries for off-grid homes. I think that's the market that they're going after. So it's not, they're not really focusing on people that are grid connected. They want to focus on like people who want to get off the grid, like probably tiny house people and like earthships.
That show is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so in love with that show, but I guess the reason why I watch it is I'm looking for ideas because, like it or not, we have no choice but to be tiny homes here.
Yeah.
Right. For the most part, most condos, like the new condo that's being built in the back, I think they top out at like 478 square feet. That's like Japan level small, right?
Oh, geez.
Like this room right now where we're recording is about 260.
So it's like a dorm room, basically.
Yeah, it's like, so yeah, imagine this room plus the rest is the rest of your house. So I think that tiny homes thing is kind of cool, but I would love to be off the grid. What I've been thinking about a lot lately is battery solutions and solar solutions for condo dwellers. Something I could stick on a lanai, or AKA balcony for people in the mainland.
Yeah.
That's roughly the size of, say, 4 to 6 of those, Rubbermaid 40-gallon little, gray things that everybody takes to the field with all the sporting equipment in, and a place to put panels to pick up. And for me, for panels, I would want to invent something that could fit in the, on the lanai, you have the railing and whatnot. Ours is covered in glass. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't put something that could hide in there, absorb all of the sun, because the building gets beat by sun. I'm across the street from the ocean, and then like store that in the battery. So when we have one of our random tsunami incidences or hurricane incidents, I would be able to have a couple of days worth of power outside in the middle of the night. So like, to me, that's the next thing that has to happen for the condo guys. House people, you're lucky. And the house people that don't have solar, I'm like, man, I wish I could. If I was you, I would be all about it.
Well, I think we're heading that way towards like a more distributed energy system. It's just like, I think it's business, like centralized businesses that are going to take the longest to adopt to the whole thing. Because like eventually HECO, who's our utility company here in Hawaii, they should be more of a marketplace than a provider, right? Like what if HECO's job was to maintain grid stability and ensure fair prices for the people that are part of their marketplace. Then like the solar producers are producing energy, and then they can also give incentives for storage of energy,
right?
Because like if let's say they gave a rebate for like 80% of the cost of a battery, and but you as a homeowner get to make money off of the usage of that battery, which they're like, I don't know what kind of model it is. Maybe they're leasing it out to you, and then it'll like make money based off of how much energy it's transferring between units, or it could just be like you buy one and you get like a better rate to like trade energy with your neighbors. But then like all of the condos can be giant batteries. The whole west side can just be like a big solar cell, and they can provide incentives to create new solar cells, because they're going to make money off of the marketplace by the trading of energy. So like what happens in Hawaii, all of the west side, we have like 200,000 vehicles like coming over from the west side and I'm doing the great voyage, like across the freeway, like amping yourself up, like you're going into battle every day, and then you use up all the energy in Honolulu, like in downtown and the office areas that are just like consuming huge amounts of like electricity.
Right.
But like that centralization of like consumption, like that doesn't lend itself to solar power really well, right? Because you're running like huge AC units and stuff that are like cooling down buildings that should be 90 degrees, but we're like getting them down to 60. That takes some thermodynamics.
Well, one of the things that I always thought of, and people who listen to the podcast who work in office buildings, almost every single person I know that works in a quote unquote standard office building goes to work and puts on the Arctic jacket.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there all day, the whole office wearing jackets. And I'm like, maybe you guys should peel the AC back just a touch, you know? And they're like, oh, we can't. There's always some crazy reason like why they can't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if everyone in your office is wearing a jacket, then facilities is using too much electricity. And in a place like Hawaii, like maybe we should be a little bit more conservative about the electricity. You know what I mean? We're going to live on a little teeny rock. So I think a lot of times companies are scared to retrofit certain things. Everyone assumes that, retrofitting is going to cost a lot. But my thing over and over again is, what is it going to cost you not to do it? So we're probably wasting millions of kilowatt hours per year in just a section of downtown with all of these buildings that don't allow people to control their own temperature in their individual spaces.
Well, no, totally. But I mean, I think there's there's always like the carrot and stick method of like changing behavior. So I don't know what I would imagine like as a carrot, you want to give people incentives to monitor their own electricity or like their own consumption, but those are all like super individual choices too, right?
Right.
Like we can evangelize and say like you got to use less energy, but that's not going to stop anyone from using it necessarily.
Oh, that hasn't worked that conversation has been going on since I was a kid when we had black and white TV.
Yeah.
So
and that
I'm not that old.
I don't think it's going to change.
I think there are a lot of things that people presume have big effects, surprisingly have little effects. But I think they sound good on paper, or they sound good almost from a PR standpoint. So companies continue to like speak this method. Okay, here's a not funny, but a peculiar story. Baltimore is working on a plan that basically says they're going to give people a mandatory 1-year sentence before, on top of any other sentencing, for anybody that gets caught with a firearm within 1,000 feet of a school or a church.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm like, on paper, that sounds good. But reality does not sound good, because what will happen is the places that are heavily filled with churches are the poor neighborhoods, right? The places that are heavily filled with the schools and stuff are the poor neighborhoods. When they go to build your private schools and whatever's like that, they tend to be in more affluent neighborhoods. So in the poor neighborhoods is where you find a lot of your public schools, and then also around there will be a lot of churches. So you're basically blanketing the poor side of town. With anybody get caught with a firearm, you get a mandatory sentence. So really what's probably going to happen is the transactions that require you to bring a firearm for security purposes, I'm not going to act like I know anything about these, will bring them closer to the neighborhood of the people who don't really want the crime in their area. You're actually going to push the criminals closer to the burbs so that trust me, they're not going to stop making money, because the war on drugs, as we all know, is like one of the stupidest things that's ever happened in our country, and it hasn't stopped the damn thing. So all you're going to do is move that closer to them. So that's an example of, again, one of these things that sound good on paper, easily politicized, make people feel all real, but it doesn't actually have any effect on the core problem. With everyone that, all the companies and everyone saying, oh, save electricity, and yet people just don't do it. That's a little crazy,
Yeah. Well, I think just the incentives aren't like clear or big enough for people to act on them. Like, because one, we don't have like a clear incentive to reduce carbon emissions, right? Like, not an individual level. It's kind of like something that we like to wear as a badge. Like, oh, I recycle, I'm so much better than you. Or I bicycle, I'm so much better than you. And I'm totally one of those guys. Like,
hey, I bicycle, bro. I'm with you. I'm literally the fat circus bear dude riding down the street on my bike. And I look at people, when I'm riding on my bike in a Hummer or a dually roll past me, I definitely look at them like, you're a dick.
Well, yeah, I mean,
you don't have no tools in the back. You don't have no boat in the back. You have nothing. You by yourself in a dually with no equipment. You're an asshole.
Well, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that being a progressive elitist doesn't really like change people's minds.
No, but it feels good to us.
It's just,
and see, it's funny because I make fun of people who do that, but I guess I do it too all the time.
Yeah.
Before we came on the air, Spencer asked me, like, he's listened to the episodes and stuff like that, but what is the show about? And I'm still finding that, so to speak. But really, I guess if I had to give it an answer, it would be, I'm just trying to change behaviors. And if I can be a change agent, again, for like just 10% of my friends, that puts over 500 people that I'm changing, according to, Facebook friends list. So if I can get 10% of the people just to think things through a little bit more, do things a little bit less selfish. And, if I had to give myself a motto, my motto is simply easy as pie. Just don't be a dick. Like, if you're doing something that, it doesn't even have to be right or wrong. And I think this is a big problem. We're hella binary when it comes to right and wrong. And there's laws passed and, hey, don't call right now, Topher. There's laws passed and people say, oh, well, so-and-so is not against the law, so it must be okay. And it's like, the law is not the point. What you're doing is kind of dick. So it doesn't matter if it's against the law or not. How about, let's just not be a dick first. We'll worry about the law second. And if you're not being a dick, you're probably not breaking any laws ever.
Yeah. Well, so I don't think like we need more laws like about energy consumption, but probably better incentives that like recognizes our impact on like our consumption. I mean, energy and food consumption and how it affects the planet. That's I think that's one, a hard thing to quantify, and like we're still trying to figure that out. But two, right now there's just not big enough. Like if you could make like an extra $600 a month for energy storage, like that'd be dope, right?
That'd be dope.
Everyone would just do it. And like you don't even have to have an opinion on climate change to do it.
All right, so help me out with this, because I think I remember, but this was a couple years back, and there's been a lot of alcohol in my head since that time. You guys had this plan where you were selling companies LED bulbs, but allowing people to help with the cost of the changeover by crowdfunding the switching to LED bulbs.
Oh, yeah, that was.
If I remember correctly.
So that was a project we did with the Blue Planet Foundation, where we built a crowdfunding platform that allowed people to pledge money to nonprofits that wanted to do, like, you know, replace their bulbs or replace their HVAC systems to more energy efficient ways, and they raised quite a bit of money. I think it was I don't really know, but I know I think it was over $500,000 or maybe close to $1 million, but I think it was somewhere in that range. It wasn't like a small amount of money, but they've been they saved a lot of carbon with that.
So what if we were able to scale that on a private level? Like, all right, so for instance, I changed every bulb in my house. And let me do an inventory real quick. That's 4, that's 8, 16, 24, 30. I have 42 light bulbs in my house.
Yeah.
I switched every single one of them to LED. And if I did that in one fell swoop, because I'm using the Philips Hue system, that would be $50 a piece. I'd be, $840 in the hole, right?
Yeah.
But what I did was I swapped them out 2 at a time for the better part of about a year, right? So now my entire house is covered by Philips Hue, Siri, and Alexa. I can be like, Alexa, turn on the kitchen, Alexa, turn off the kitchen.
I totally hope you're turning off people's light bulbs right now.
Oh, wait, I shouldn't say
Alexa.
Siri too loud.
Alexa.
She's over there. She's going to start yelling. It's so... I remind me of the Alexa part. I have something that came up the other day, which I think is kind of funny.
Alexa, call 911.
Don't do that. So it took me a while, but once I got the whole thing done, literally my bill dropped about $95 a month just for switching them all out. And so when I was first doing it, everyone's like, man, you're crazy. Those bulbs are $50 a piece. It's so expensive. But to go from saving almost $100 a month, it took me less than 8 months to recoup the entire cost of my whole system. And that's actually adding the Echo Dots, the 2 Echo Dots that I have that run everything. Also, what I did was for the kitchen and the bathroom, they're motion sense. So the thing that I'm famous for is forgetting to turn off the light. So I walk in the kitchen, light comes on, I do stuff, I leave, light goes off 3 minutes later. Walk in the bathroom, light goes on. I have the bathroom set for 10, because that way, if you're in the shower and the motion sensor can't see you and you're taking too long, the lights will go off. And that's a reminder, hey, Dick, you're taking too long of a shower. You're wasting water,
You got like a little Tony Stark, like little pad set.
Yeah, I know Jarvis, which is funny, and that was my Alexa point. The subservient assistants have female names, and the genius assistants have male names.
Oh, wow, that's really fucked up.
Right? Watson, Jarvis, Hal, they're all men.
Bixby.
Oh, I forgot about Bixby. They're all men, right? Yeah. But then, hey, bitch, which time is my appointment? Is Alexa and Siri.
Yeah.
I just want to point it out, tech people. Stop being dicks. Make the subservient dudes guys too. Now you can switch Siri to a guy voice. That's not the same thing. Don't get cute.
Yeah.
Whoever originally thought of it was named after the daughter Iris, but still yet.
Yeah.
If they start giving them black names, I'm gonna fuck somebody else. Hey, LaQuisha, what's on my appointment? Nick, you ain't got nothing to do today.
It'd be really fucked up if robotic machine intelligence, like stuff that is actually gonna like run to a store and pick something up for you, like if that had black names, like Tyrone, get me cigarettes.
See, we have to start hurting some developers. So I know that was a weird tangent, but I thought of it on one of my random elevated sessions. I thought about it.
That's really fucked up.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
I never thought of it until now, but it is what it is. So hopefully the next person that come out with an intelligent assistant, let's work on that. Let's figure out.
What can they do to like
gender bias,
gender androgynous, voice.
Wait. So, okay, it's cool because you're older, so you get it. Before we had all these weird names. You know what word I use a lot now, but I hate the fact that I have to use it?
What?
Cisgender.
Oh. Like, I don't know.
All right, so I had this conversation with somebody the other day. And, okay, so the show is we do tangents, so deal with it, people. I had this conversation the other day where somebody was kind of getting lippy because they're like, I don't know what to call, so-and-so because they've, they're post-op now. I'm like, you called them she.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, why? I'm like, because she wanted to be she. She spent 80, 90 grand to become she. You call her she. And none of this Zer with the X and all this. Canada, like, I saw this thing. They have 78 gender pronouns.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that.
I'm like, come on, bro. Leave it back to he and she. If someone identifies what they identify with, that's what you call them.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even people who aren't post-op. My female friends who are proper terminology, I don't know, so I'm going to stick to my old school racist terminology, butch. I call them by their dude name. And I call them dude. I say, what's up, in the dude form. Because they want to be dudes. Like, you give the people what they want. Like, why we got to be, it's not up to you.
But you as an ancient one are like, oh... Like, why can't you guys just use my vernacular? Because
I thought about that. Trust me, I always think about both sides of things. But, like, half the time I discover the people who are making the change, who want to do the change, they themselves don't necessarily want all the extra stuff, too. It's all the social justice warriors that are trying to do good by them. So we should call them some Zer.
Well, I think it's like, I don't know. I wonder about this. Like, I'm not offended by any of it. Like,
I'm not offended either. I'm just, it's a struggle. Offended. I'm trying not to offend people.
But like, I'm not offended by social justice warriors necessarily. Like, I think it's kind of silly to be upset about things like that. But I'm not like, I don't really get up in arms about social justice
You know
warriors.
what I get pissed off at them for?
I just find it really hard to say social justice warriors.
So do I, because it's ignorant. What I get really pissed off at them for is when they're trying to do things that quote unquote support the black struggle, but sometimes they're making it worse by the things that they're doing or saying. I'm like, you're at the point where you're no longer helping, you're actually making the situation worse. And sometimes I find that I'm not a racist people or more of a pain in the ass. The straight KKK dude I can deal with. I'm
saying, like, maybe it's like the birth of like a new culture, right?
True.
Like a new culture that is struggling to find its way. It doesn't really they spent so much time not being identified and not being respected that like when they finally get like a little toehold, they might be overreacting.
They
right?
Gotta take it, yeah.
And then they'll why didn't you guys recognize us all this time? It's always been like this. And
it's a movement.
I mean, maybe it is kind of, but like.
Well, I think I agree with you there because I'm the first person to say that language evolves, right? So I get mad at all the people who say that's not how you say this. This is how you say that, and I go, yeah, but the overall understanding of the sentence the person put out, the context was well understood by all parties involved. So correcting them is kind of irrelevant. Like even...
Well, yeah, I mean, your point is just like, I agree with you. Just don't stop being so dickish about it.
Yeah. So that's what I think I'm saying. Like when someone puts out a really valid point and they do something like switch a pronoun or even make a typo, you always got the typo Nazis. You're dumb because you did it wrong. I'm like, that person just dropped 99% science and they have one letter out of place and you try to dismiss their whole argument over a typo.
Well, it's kind of like this reaction to
Kofefe.
Yeah, Kofefe and that whole thing. Like, it's not it's not rational. It's emotional for sure, right?
Yes.
Like, because you can say anything completely rational and be hyper emotional about it, and it's gonna rub people the wrong way. And I think like too much of you're just dropping shit.
Hey Toph, come here. I forgot something. Sorry, our executive producer Topher walked in the room.
Hey,
fill these up with something brown.
Jeez,
this show about to get good. Thanks, Toph. In the same breath, I think one of the things that's hella funny is hard for me because I have been trying to become better at the way I handle conversations when I'm on the opposite end of the argument. I'm trying to be better at, before I even open my mouth, I'm going to try to understand both sides, right? This is going to be a touchy one, but I'm going to make it super short and try to stay out of it. But I had a touchy conversation with somebody who is a quote unquote devout Christian, and they were going on about the whole like abortion thing. And I was like, there's here, salute.
Hey, thank you.
This is slightly off camera. What are we drinking, Toph? He don't even remember. I got to edit out the gap because, he busting on my good stuff. This is Cheetah. This is Suntory whiskey from Japan. It's brought by Christian Self for Bevy. Thank you, Christian.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
This is good stuff, right?
It's good.
Oh, that's good. That's tasty.
Oh, man, I became one of those assholes that say beautiful before they drink.
I can make you a beautiful. I know what they call that drink that because you drink that and the ugliest people is like, oh, you're so beautiful. Anyway, so my point is, nice. I was pointing out to the person, I was like, that there's distinct passages in the Bible where they talk about, making a potion to make a woman miscarry a child if she was, unfaithful to the husband. And the person told me, no, it's not. And I'm like, bro, I'm as atheists come. And I can not only tell you the passage almost verbatim, I can tell you the chapter and verse. And the person is Numbers 15 through 31, if you want to be, in case you're trying to test me. Somebody listening going, Doc don't know. Yeah, I know. I went to Catholic school. Anyway, I was like, go read Numbers 15, through 31 and figure it out, right? And then the person was like, oh, well, and I was like, no, see, so many of them, they wear the badge. They do the Facebook Christian. They talk all this smack and like, I'm going to hell and all this other stuff. And then when you call them on their stuff that they should technically know if you're going to call yourself that, and they don't even know it. Mm-hmm. And I kind of like, that reminds me to not just win an argument, because, I can do that a lot. I'm pretty well versed. But it's the point of, I want to learn both sides of the argument so that I can have a better understanding of my point. I think the reason why everybody went so stupid on Trump and the Covfefe thing is he never admits when he's wrong. And instead of just saying he was wrong, okay, that was a typo, let it go. He could have shut the whole thing down and go, all right, people, that was a typo. You guys are hilarious. Let it go. But no, it wasn't a typo. I did it on purpose.
I feel like this whole thing is kind of an exercise in understanding what our ego is. Like,
his assholiness is making me check the living hell out of my ego these days. Yeah. It's crazy.
But, so like this, like your whole thing about how Christians identify as Christians and they might not know scripture as well as you do, but that's still how they identify themselves as. And like, how else would you identify them other than to say that they are Christian, right? So like,
I identify them as Spencer. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm one thing I have been, actually last couple episodes I've talked about this. Mm-hmm. We are not half the identities that we think we are.
Well, yeah, but like labels are part of our identity, right? Or they're part of our ego. They're part of that's how we want to project ourselves out to the world. And there's a need for that. I mean, I think there's a very primal human need to
classify things.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
So to classify things based on your ego makes sense, right?
But I think we start, what's the word I'm looking for? We start sub-classifying things. And a lot of times we should stay at spectrum. And we get to phylum, and it's not necessary, right? Or for instance, right, like you and I are just males, okay? The other identifying stuff, like, Japanese American or, Black American or Latino American or fat or whatever, those are the ones that start to cause trouble when it's not necessary. Yeah. And then people have a tendency to put it in conversations where it's not necessary. There is a point where the classification needs to go because we're trying to buy shirts, right? All right. I got to get you a medium and I got to get me a Circus Bear XXX, right? That's different.
Okay.
But the part where it's like this guy's going to come in, he's going to drop off a package, and you just sign for it and let it go. When you come in the next day and somebody goes, oh, yeah, the freaking Japanese dude dropped off the package. That was unnecessary. And okay, stop calling me people. That was unnecessary, and it didn't add anything to the thing. But people do it by habit because they get fed it so much by the quote unquote people above us.
Yeah.
Right? So in this has kind of gone away a little bit, except for on Fox. Back in the day, it used to be a man walked into the 7-Eleven and robbed the joint. Right? And then somewhere in the mid 70s to 80s, it became black man walked into the 7-Eleven and robbed it. Mexican walked into the 7-Eleven and robbed it. But if the person was Caucasian, it was a man walked into 7-Eleven and robbed it.
Oh, yeah.
They started to fix that towards the early 2000s.
Well, I mean, like, you can't, I'm saying it's part of our nature. And that's a hard thing to control when something's part of your nature, right? Like, we are problem-solving entities that, like, want to organize based on our belief systems. You know, like, there was that. You ever read that book, Sapiens?
No, gotta add that to the list.
Yeah, they talk about that, about like how we are, like, part of the reason that we've been so like successful as a species is because we're able to believe in things that don't exist. Right, like money is a system that only exists because we believe in it. Like the mushroom gives zero shits about what your bank account holds. Right. So like no one cares outside of our species. It just doesn't exist to everyone else. But religion is also one of those things that kind of exists because we believe in it. Like my dog does not care about God or the conflict between like Islam and Judaism. Like my dog cares nothing about that kind of stuff, and so it only exists within our own minds. Where was I going with this? I don't
know, but while you're doing that, like when people are like, wonder what Doc is doing, I'm actually buying the book right now because that's what I do. When somebody tells me to read a book, I don't write it down. I go buy it right now because it needs to be bought. All right, cool. This book is purchased.
Oh, so what I'm saying is that like identity and belief systems, they're really tied together. And labels, identities, and belief systems, I see them as like really, really connected to one another. So you got like, if someone identifies as a Christian, to you that label might not be accurate, but to them that's part of their identity. Like that's how they've been part of society and community is by that label.
Right.
I mean, so like I don't know if there's a better label for someone that's like, you know, a community Christian or like a social Christian. Like that seems kind of insulting to the, you know, like to something that's part of your hardcore beliefs.
I mean, when you think about it, that's how we ended up with so many religions anyway. I guess the thing is, I want to put this on record. I don't have a problem with religions at all. Like, I think if that's what it takes to make you a better person. Like, I look at somebody like my boy Brad, who I absolutely love to death, and he's my favorite Christian. Why? Brad never tries to tell me I need to go to church. He never tries to tell me that I'm going to go to hell because I do stuff the way I do it. He never tells me that I'm gay, so I should get electrocution therapy so that it gets out of me, Mike Pence. You know, like, he never says I'm not gay, people, by the way. I'm a strong supporter.
Well, you're like a little gay, though. Like,
I am a little
There's
gay.
that one time.
Well, that was Ryan, so that doesn't count because Ryan's Chinese. So, it's just I get angry at the people who wear it as a badge or wear it like a piece of jewelry, right? Also, I mean, it argumentatively can be said that the majority of the conflicts through history has been because someone didn't believe what someone else believed, so they believed that they deserved more, so they believed that they could oppress someone in order to scale up. That kind of stuff drives me insane. And also, I think it the most bothers me when someone will say that because of Christianity, I want all the black people to get out of America. Because of Christianity, I want all the Mexicans to get out of America. I'm like, Mexicans go to church more than you. Do you know that? Like, you ever been to, I grew up, 7 days a freaking week church. That's why I don't go no more. Church on Monday, no, church on Tuesday. And then the white kids at school was like, y'all don't just go to church on Sunday? But at the same token, half of them are like, I'm a heathen.
Yeah.
And I was like, not according to grandma, because grandma's like, I would kick your ass, but I got to be at church at 5.
Well, part of me thinks that like this whole division of culture is like kind of a part of, this is going to sound really callous, but like calling the species a little bit, where like nature kind of calls for conflict in order for progress to be made. And like that conflict is always kind of shitty, but then progress is made. And like the same thing for human history and the way that we've like governed ourselves or like had cultural movements. There's always like huge conflict and then progress is made somehow. I'm hoping that the conflict here is between one of compassion and one of ego, being able to put yourself in the shoes of a fellow human being and versus thinking only about how your identity is being projected to other human beings.
Yeah, I think that identity thing has become a kind of sort of a big deal. Like many people, until you round about 60, you're still somewhat trying to find your identity. Or you let someone else give you an identity, and then you spend your whole time trying to live up to that identity, right? Like, I don't want anybody to think of me as a tech guy. I love tech, but people are like, oh, this doc, like he's my tech guy. I don't like that. No, I'm just a dude, right?
Yeah.
I just happen to be good at this tech stuff, but that's not my identity. I don't identify with my job. I don't identify with my skin color. I'm starting to become a little bit more of the quintessential angry black man, but honestly, and that's the first time I'm gonna say this out loud publicly, part of that is because growing up, I tried to suppress it. I tried to hide it because it was easier than dealing with all the racist white folks in my neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Like you felt like you tried to suppress like your black culture?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And, I was into my hip hop thing, but I was also into punk rock, So I had this problem where in my hood, I'm fighting with folks because I'm wearing a Dead Kennedy's jacket, but then at school, I'm fighting with folks because I'm wearing a Run DMC t-shirt.
Yeah.
And it was like, I can like both. It doesn't, like, you know what I'm saying? My skin color has jack to do with the music I listen to. I listen to classical music. That doesn't make me Austrian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I will listen to Tchaikovsky or Chopin or Bach. Bach is my dude. Like if Bach was alive right now, that would be the dude that I'll be blazing with, hanging out, trying to understand. Man, this Baroque joint is a little complicated, Bach. What the hell? What kind of strain you on this week? And he's like, oh, I got that OG Chopin Beethoven Kush. So I just hated the fact that everybody wanted to box me into categories. So I'm trying to unbox. But I hope a lot of times when I tell people all the time, part of this podcast, I'm talking out loud as my therapy, hoping somebody will grab a nugget. And when next time they're taking a shit, they'll think deeper. I think the one thing reason why we've been friends the whole time is good butt sex. And
really
we're both critical thinkers. The thing that made me fall in love with you from day one is you're a critical thinker. Too many of my friends, I think, don't think enough. And I know I can't control the world. I can't change the world, but I'm damn sure going to try. I just want everybody to think a little harder and a little deeper about even some of the simplest things. The simplest things like if the car in front of you takes off and you take off exactly the right amount of seconds and everybody behind you, 10 cars in a row, did the same thing, traffic got lighter for the day.
Oh shit, are we going to talk about traffic?
Oh God, I'm scared. that one person that's looking at their phone and they take off 15 seconds late, that person just jacked up a whole bunch of people. Like, I am a strong believer in chaos theory. I'm a strong believer in the things that I do will affect people 6 people removed. right? If you have a good time tonight, you might go home and then call up Bryce and be like, man, sorry, bro, I ain't talked to you in a week today. I was just hanging out with Doc. He was asking me how you was doing. I just want to say what's up. And he'd be like, damn, I called my brother. I wasn't planning to call my brother, but now I just see that you can call your brother today. What's up, Waffle Beaver? That's the stupidest name ever, but I love it.
Instagram Waffle Beaver.
Instagram Waffle Beaver. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I believe in passing it forward. My friends say to me, when I go to Starbucks and I say something hilarious to some random person, they're like, why do you just say dumb shit to strangers? Because I want that person to go and say something dumb to another stranger. And if 8 people get lifted by dumb comments and a little laugh, I did my job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's compassion. That's like an important human quality that we're all capable of. And I think people express that like all the time. It's when we start looking at each other as enemies that like we turn off that compassion switch, right? We're like, you're not like me. I'm not going to put myself in your shoes. You're the enemy, and you think a certain way, and I think a different way. It's like a really weird thing, but we all do it. And like, but with our friends and with our family, we think about like what if I was in your shoes? What if I was? What if you were in my shoes? Like, how would I react? You put that like that compassionate thought like process into play. I think that's the big war that's gonna happen. I mean, there's gonna be like the other shitty kind of wars, but the war like over how our human minds function and able to organize and help each other and move the species forward. I think that's kind of the and that like is kind of outside of like structures of government and all that stuff, right? It's like it's the way that we're looking at ourselves for the first time, and I think like the internet and social media have kind of like provided that mirror like at a species level that we didn't have before, and that's kind of why it's happening now. That's a weird tangent.
No, that's hella deep though. Like when you think about it, like that is hella deep. Man, it's crazy. I often.
But traffic, Doc. Traffic.
No, don't do it. Because once you start me, you can't stop me, dude. The thing I think of often, and the next time I get into a heated argument with somebody that I feel like I'm going to lose my cookies over, I just want to tell them, I'm like, I know you're looking at me and you're thinking what you're thinking because you've been taught to think that way about me. But if we were able to pull out a cup of blood right now and we tested it, I'm a 70% chance you're O positive just like me, right? 70%
I'm not. I'm also not HIV negative like you. Oh wait, no.
Negative means you got it.
Oh shit! I have HIV.
Oh my God, bro! I never forget that test. That was the funniest thing. No, but I'm like, 70% of the population, they're rocking the OPOS, right? I go, you probably got up this morning. On your way walking to the bathroom, scratched your butt cheek because you slept on that side. You went to the bathroom, you brushed your teeth, took your morning motion, had your coffee or your tea or your beer or whatever your swag is. But like, you're just as human as I am. So why are you treating me as a non-human? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think that's the easiest way to squelch arguments nowadays.
Yeah, it's because everything has gotten emotional now, right? Like, we don't have an objective reason for government. We have emotional reasons for government. We don't have objective reasons for voting for a politician. We have emotional reasons for voting for a politician. Well, part
of it is emotional, and I think the other part of it is, I want to say hereditary, but that's not the right word.
Yeah.
Generational. If you poll half the people in this town and ask them why are you a Democrat, they won't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mom and dad was, so I am. Same reason why half the people are whatever religion they call. Mom and dad were, so they are.
I think we're the bluest state. So like, and that's because it's probably changing a little now, but that's because most of the plantation workers, like I'm a descendant of plantation workers, like
Me
so
too.
many other people here. Oh yeah, different kind of workers.
You guys got paid.
Yeah, they were paid.
Shit.
Yeah.
Oh snap! We did something wrong. I just created a party file.
Well, you could argue it's not. It's very not the same at all. But oh no, Doc.
Somebody made that dumbass argument somewhere along the line during the campaign about, I think it was Ben Carson, if I remember correctly. He had some dumbass argument about these guys were workers. I'm like, no, bro, indentured slavery is not working. It's
not even indentured. I mean, like, there's a big difference between indentured servants and slavery. Like, when you have a child and knowing that child is going to face slavery, like, that's a really fucked up thing to face.
True that.
Did you watch that 13th documentary?
No, I just saw it though. I just saw
the trailer for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
systemic racism. But you know what you said.
I was going to ask that question today. I was going to propose the question to Facebook. When I say systemic racism, what do you think I'm talking about? Because I think a lot of people hear the terminology and don't understand it. And a week ago, during one of my rants, while we were driving to Ala Moana, I explained to Topher what systemic racism is, because he grew up in Hawaii. Like, a lot of people don't know what it is, but it's even here in Hawaii. Like, there's a lot of systemic racism here in Hawaii.
Yeah, but the fun kind, not the bad kind.
Even the bad kind.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because I was on the Offshore podcast, remember?
Yeah.
And when you listen to that trial, like, there were things like, local kids couldn't be out at a certain time at night, whatever. And like, these guys got blamed for something that they didn't do. Like, it's a crazy thing. I didn't know there was a movie about it, but I've been meaning to go pull that.
That was a great podcast, the Offshore podcast.
If you haven't listened to it, check it out. Yeah. Offshore podcast. Jessica Terrell.
It's like This American Life type of quality.
Yeah.
And really good storytelling.
The dumbest thing on that podcast is me. Other than that, it's good.
No, you're great, man.
It was good. Now, and again, so one of the things that really chaps my nads is I look at when I get racist comments from, ignorant people, I just let it go. Mm-hmm. When I get racist comments from, like, blood Hawaiian, I get kind of mad. I'm like, bro, we've been through some of the same shit. Like, my people have been treated just like your people, except for it wasn't our land that was taken, but a lot of other things. I mean, minus the land, we have suffered some of the exact same struggles. How can you take the hatred that they taught you for me and pass it on to me when you have suffered through the same shit? Like, you've had your identity raped, your cultural appropriated, your people actually raped. And for the first, anybody tries to come back at me and go, you shouldn't say that about, we were raped.
Well, that's like the ego versus the compassion part, right? Like, I think when you face those kind of situations, that the knee-jerk reaction is to be like, look at you. You should know better than this, right? You want to shame them. You want to tell.
No, I don't. I try to teach them. I definitely try not to shame them.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's hella funny to me is you're standing there, you're calling me all of this stuff, but you're wearing a pair of Jordans, right? You're rocking a Kobe Bryant jersey. You know what I'm saying? And you're wearing a snapback. You basically appropriated 80% of my culture and turn around and call me a nigga.
Yeah.
I'm like, how you going to dress like me? I'm not wearing a fucking loincloth calling you Kanaka. And I just throw it right back at them. And then some of them get it. Some people, they want to scrap, and then they figure out maybe I shouldn't scrap this dude. But, it's just.
I would beat the shit out of you, Doc. We will fight. God. This will happen.
Hey, Conor McGregor is on. There you go. And I've been in touch on this. You know what's pissing me off about that fight? Number one, the fight is a joke. I'm going to just put that out there for all you people that love that shit. The fight is an absolute joke. But what's really irritating, it's not good for the sport. It's not good for boxing. It's not good for MMA. Why? Because now they've turned it into a black versus white, like, racist type thing. Floyd was not right for picking up the flag and doing whatever, but those were reactions to read to me, boy, dance for me, boy, shit like that, like calling him a monkey and all of that.
You know what though? They're going to make so much money.
Yeah,
they're going to make so much money off of our need to watch two people fight in a race war.
And then what's so stupid, though, is like Conor's from the side of the Irish people that were basically treated like the black people. So he should know better.
Well, I don't think Conor's fighting for racist reasons. Or at least I hope not.
But him bringing that shit up and saying it fires up a portion of the country that needs to stay dormant.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yo, bro, it was dumb. Like, he just basically got in his face and was like, dance for me, boy.
Oh, really?
And then, like, calling him a monkey. And he's like, you know what? You can't read. Like, no one's ever said Floyd can or cannot read. That's never been put out in the press. Like, he don't know that. And if he did know that, you shouldn't use that to mock him, because there's kids right now that can't read that won't ask for help because they're afraid someone's going to clown them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the same thing we were talking about earlier. There's people that have serious problems that can't ask for help because we make fun of the mentally infirmed in this country.
Yeah.
When we should be supporting the mentally infirmed in this country. You know, people that get arrested for drugs oftentimes aren't derelictic. They have a mental problem that's making them want that drug.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Connor knew that? Like,
I don't think he knows whether he can read or not.
Yeah.
But in his brain,
I mean,
this is not Connor's fault.
Do you think he made that connection?
You know what I'm going to put it on? Not on Connor. You know what I'm going to put it on? I'm going to put it on through years and years and years of not even stereotyping, of archetyping on television and media. Because people not from this country, because I have traveled around the world, right? People not from this country, the only thing they know about black people when I get there is that I'm a criminal, I'm an athlete, I probably like hip hop. If they go down on me, that might choke. I had to throw that last one in. You know, but like...
I know for a fact. No,
you know,
I don't know for a fact.
Like...
Way too many gay jokes in this.
I know, right? The thing...
I'm sorry, my
Ryan,
gay friends.
Ryan and Chad. The thing is, if you never saw a black person in real life, some of the first things that come to your head will be only what you got from media. So I can understand if he didn't know that, where he might have got the basic stereotypes. I think the no to press the button of calling someone boy in the way that he said it might have come from TV. Now, in England, I watch a lot of soccer. In England, they say that all the time, but they don't say it with the boy. It's the tonality, right? When they're saying they're talking about a young lad, somebody under the age of 25, they'll be like, man, that boy is good or whatever. And, you know, just like if I say, oh, Spencer, that's my boy, that's a different conversation. But when you say boy with the I at the end, yo, bruh, you're pushing a button and you know you're pressing a button. You're pushing a button that will get pushed back.
I didn't see that.
Bruh, you got to find it.
Wow. Well, I mean, I think like that's like a pretty clear example of systemic racism. That Baltimore example, also an example of systemic racism, right? Like, we're going to create laws so that we can round up black people and put them into prisons, and we're going to make all this money off of the prisons. It's like I mean, it's the slave trade, basically.
It's not so much here in Hawaii, but we do have it here in Hawaii, but it's a little different. But if we were in the mainland, right, and I was outside, and let's say I had a bag, you know, 2-finger bag, and I had, you know, bag of dank. I get pulled over, I'm going to go do time. You get pulled over, it's going to get confiscated from you, and then you're going to get asked to go to some kind of training to make you better. The OxyContin kids are just as white as anybody else. The OxyContin kids get sent to, what's the one on the infomercial? Changes or phases or whatever you want to call these rehab clinics, right?
Yeah.
When the celebrities get busted, they get sent to rehab clinics, right? They sent to Winehouse International. Yo, my people, we get thrown in jail,
right,
for the same exact shit.
Yeah, and you get to make license plate at 5 cents an hour, and that is called slavery. I mean, there's no other real word for it. It's just like slavery for a generation at a time, instead of if every black prisoner, when they reproduce, had to produce another slave, right? That's a better version of the slavery system, but that's like, you know, not good for the slaves.
Right.
And but that's the only thing that's missing between like you know, pre-Civil War slavery and post-Civil War slavery. Slavery still exists. It's just called the prison system now. Yes,
and it's set up, especially when you realize the places with the most egregious troubles in prison systems happen to be Louisiana, Arizona, Mississippi, Florida,
and to compensate for you know, producing new slaves through birth, like ownership of what's it called, like your children,
offspring.
Offspring. They created laws like you can't have a firearm within any school district or any church. You can't. There are going to be loitering laws now, so you can't just like hang out at a corner. If you're hanging out at a corner for too long, you're going to get arrested. If you're going to jaywalk, then it's really easy to identify black people and take them into prison for jaywalking. like skateboarding. That's probably not like. I mean, I don't know how skateboarding is.
Skateboarding is big in the Black community now.
Yeah.
Compliments of Lupe Fiasco and Pharrell, Skateboard P, and Lil Weezy.
Yeah.
Some of the top guys on the Mountain Dew tour are all black kids, which is crazy to me because it hasn't quite crossed over to the X Game tour.
Yeah.
But Mountain Dew is like, we're not going to sleep on this. So they've been high. Like, you really, I think in the top 10 guys, like, I think there's about 6 of them.
That's cool.
It's crazy.
I was going to say weed laws. Weed laws are the big one.
Weed laws are the big one.
Weed laws are the big one. You
And that was
incarcerate a lot of black
completely
people
made up.
for weed.
Oh yeah, black guys gonna smoke weed and rape your women.
Yeah.
Like that was crazy. That's Reefer Madness. If you haven't seen it, that's a great movie to sort of get into. I think to me, one of the ones that drives me the most crazy is the conversations that come out. Oh, that was almost 100 years ago. Let it go. You guys don't have the same problems anymore. Like, let it go. And not even thinking about the stuff you were talking about. Back after the Depression, right, or when we had the migration to the West, the government was like, if you go west, young man, I will give you this piece of land, but you need to grow soybeans, or you need to grow tobacco, or you need to grow corn so that you can help feed the rest of America. You know who didn't qualify for those plots? Mm-hmm. Us, right?
Oh, well, that's so surprising.
You know what I'm saying? But so even when you look at, well, my family, they worked hard. My grandpa was a farmer. He was a sharecropper. And look, he made his way up. And now, he works for the biggest crook in the world, agricultural company, ConAg. No, I'm just making a point. But, they moved up and, now they got a big farmhouse and they got 500 head of cattle and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, first of all, the original land, if your name isn't fucking Step Through the Clouds with Sheep, you stole that land.
Okay.
Or the government took it and gave it to you.
Yeah.
Right? So you got a handout. But yet they would say, all they do is come here and take handouts. Guys that have the farms right now with the illegal aliens working on it that are taking the part of the system and they're making it better, kudos to you, right? But there's other guys that are sitting on farmland right now that was either stolen from the Native Americans or handed to them by the government after it was stolen for a Native American, and they built generational wealth, and they're sitting there looking, Jeff Beauregard motherfucking Sessions, looking down on us like we're doing something bad, And I'm like, Jeff, the reason why your great-grandpappy, Pop-Pop, was a sharecropper, you piece of shit, is they gave you the fucking land, what's his name? Not Game of Thrones, the dude with the ring. Give me my precious Smeagol. You Smeagol-looking motherfucker.
Lord of the Rings, man. Come on, don't mix those up.
Sorry.
That's not cool.
Sorry. Nerds, nobody hit me. But you know what I'm saying? That Smeagol-looking motherfucker has the audacity to look at people like they're somehow fucking shit up. I was like, your family got the money because you got given the land. Mm-hmm. You dick.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? There's no Native American last name Sessions.
So how do you change that, right? Like, how do you change that mentality?
Fix the fucking history books. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get mad, people.
Yeah.
When I was in school, and it's a little different now.
I think that's a good start, fixing the history books.
When I was in school, the first thing, talk about systemic racism. The first thing I learned about black people in the history books is that we were slaves. Right?
First thing.
The very first thing.
Okay.
When do you start taking history? I think it's 6th grade.
Yeah.
You get like basic history, like the cutesy shit, like Thanksgiving. Oh, some turkey.
Oh, right. So you're not taught that like there's a long lineage of people from Africa. It's like you're slaves.
Yeah. You know what I mean? They bring you straight to slavery.
Yeah.
And they talk about slavery, and then they talk about the cool shit. Like Harriet Tubman. She got these slaves out, and then Abraham Lincoln freed y'all, and then they don't start talking about us again until we get to Frederick Douglass, not the Frederick Douglass that Trump thinks of, but the other Frederick Douglass. And then they might get around to George Washington Carver. And again, these lessons only come in fucking February.
Right.
For like a week in February, they break us, they break us 8 or 9 motherfuckers that we supposed to respect. But a lot of legitimate people, they never get spoke of. The real McCoy, that terminology, that comes from a dude that ran away from slavery, worked on the railroads, and he was a grease man. Mm-hmm. A grease man was not the kind you're thinking of, Chad. A grease man was a guy that at every couple of stops had to get out and put the thick grease on all of the bearings and tires, wheels and shit on the train so the train could go, right? So he was working on the railroad as a grease man, and it was a shit job. But he got away with people messing with him because you're half the time so dirty and covered in grease, people that would fuck with didn't necessarily know he was black because you're that dirty. It's that kind of shitty job, right? Well, he decided, I'm going to make a box where I can put a thinner, less viscous version of this grease in, and the rotation of the wheel would pump the grease to the rest of the wheels. So we don't got to stop. So the fucking oil pump was invented by a black dude named Elijah McCoy. And then when people started buying them shits, they were buying it up, down, left, and right. He was smart. He had a white dude sort of act as his, go-between because people wouldn't buy shit from him. And people were like, yo, about 8 other people tried to sell me one of them boxes. I don't want that. That's a shitty box. That box is a Sam Walton ripoff. I want the real McCoy.
Okay.
That's where the terminology comes from. You seen that? You fucking almost 40. You seen that in the history book?
Yeah, no, I've never
Hell no. Nah. Because that shit, no one needs to know that we are some of the mothers of invention. That shit gets suppressed. But we know that Colonel fucking Sanders stole a recipe for chicken from some slaves and turned it into $1 billion entity. We know that.
Actually, you know what I'm more interested in is the history and lineage and culture of slavery. Seriously, from the slave's perspective of why did these children come into existence and how did that happen? Was it because someone was traded with somebody and then they had a wife that they had to leave behind, or they had they had children that they had to leave behind, why all of that happened is really fascinating.
We see parts of it in your famous movies like Roots and Color Purple and stuff like that.
But only covers it for a generation. No, right?
So there needs to be some deep anthropological dives into things that could happen. But one of the parts that makes it hard is our history, not just black people, marginalized people in general, even poor people back in the day. You weren't allowed to write down all of this shit. Yeah. And through a lot of places, only the rich people were allowed to write. If you got caught reading and writing, depending on your station, you got fucked up.
Yeah. What's that? There's a book, A People's History of the United States. Howard Zinn, I think, wrote that. But that's a pretty interesting history of the other side of America. Basically, the Native Americans that had their land taken over. What was their version of that history? A people's history. Yeah, that's it. Howard Zinn.
The famous Richard Pryor joke is it's called history because it was his story. Yeah. It's basically whatever the white dude said, the dude that was in charge, is his story. That's what they wrote down. A lot of other shit didn't go down. And it's funny, when I went to school in Japan, the American kids all made fun of the fact that the Japanese history books, they cut out all the bad shit. Mm-hmm. And I looked at them like, what? We do the same shit. And they're like, no. I'm like, y'all are white.
Oh yeah, no. Every culture kind of edits out their own story, right? Like the Japanese, there are Japanese that don't recognize their invasion of or their occupation of, was it Shanghai and the Philippines and Korea, that's kind of odd to me. As a Japanese American, but it's also kind of it's kind of funny. Not funny.
Not hilarious funny, but peculiar funny.
No, but we see the same thing in the U.S. and how we don't really recognize the native people that live here. It's kind of well, what are you gonna do? We really need Starbucks. We really need it. do you guys want to keep a culture alive, or do you want Starbucks? Because you get one, you can't have both.
You can't have both.
Yeah, and people choose Starbucks, and that's really shitty. But people choose Starbucks all the time.
Well, all right. So here's the funny part. This goes to show you what happens when two friends get together. We've been doing this shit for 2 hours, bro. I didn't realize that because I had it on SMPTE time. So this is going to take me forever to edit, but it's okay.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it was worth it. I knew this was going to happen because we just haven't had a chance to catch up in a minute. I guess what we normally do is you give me a pick, something that you think everyone should check out, and you can come the Sudokrew. You can say whatever you want. You give me a pick, and then I'll give a pick, and then we'll close this bitch out.
I'm gonna pick jiu-jitsu. Everyone should try jiu-jitsu.
Damn, I wish I could. My knees wouldn't support it. What do you love? What do you love the most? I thought you were a capoeira dude.
Yeah, I did capoeira for a long time. I love capoeira.
And now you're in the jiu-jitsu?
I've been really into jiu-jitsu lately.
BJJ?
Yeah.
Nice. What school?
Sapateiro Jiu-Jitsu in Kalihi.
I made Hydro Flask for them.
Oh, yeah.
My homie Sean Chang, he wanted to make it because I guess the main dudes came down last year, like October, November.
Yeah.
Like the originators. And we made the founders of it, whatever. We made them Hydro Flask with their logo.
And that's cool.
It has like a shoe, like a shoe logo. It's kind of a circle thing.
Yeah, Novo Uniao.
Yeah.
So that's like what I love about it is it's this like great mix of compassion and humility. So that like, most people just see it as a fighting art where people are trying to murder each other and strangle each other.
Most martial arts aren't really that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them are disciplined.
But this one is really like when you finally get someone into a submission, like you do feel like a huge sense of compassion that like you don't want to hurt this person really. You want them to submit. And on the flip side, when you are submitting to somebody like that's a huge sense of humility. So I feel like that's such a I've learned so much about my own ego through this process. So I'd really recommend it for anyone.
Man, that's cool. And that's good to hear. I mean, I think it's trippy, the aging process and how the ego has changed. And like I look at sometimes with the youngins and I just want to tell them, bro, I can save you a whole lot of headache. But I realize people did tell me that shit, and I just looked at them like, motherfucker, you don't know me. I got this, and I did it my way.
I feel like you need that physical aspect of it of someone literally strangling you.
In order to sort of
to get in touch with your own ego and be like, oh, this is how I project myself out. Like, okay.
Yeah, the projecting. There you go. Hey, man, I'm going to have to have you back so we can talk more about ego and projecting and identities again, because I think you're a little bit more grounded than most of the people I roll with, and it's an important conversation to have at this point in time. All right, so here's my pick. Spence, if you haven't checked it out, you got to check this out. The Defiant ones on HBO. And if you don't have HBO, this is hood, but I'm a hood kid, so I'm going to give you hood life. Sign up for the free trial because you only need 4 episodes. All 4 episodes are out. They're roughly about an hour and 20 minutes a piece. Watch them 4 episodes and then cancel the free trial. Or sneak in some Game of Thrones while you're in there.
The Defiant ones.
The Defiant one.
Right,
it goes into the history of Dre from Street Days to Dre the Baller Billionaire.
Oh shit.
And Jimmy Iovine. And there's just some deep conversations in there. And a lot of it, I know you'll identify because I work with you and you're very much a cooler version of Jimmy.
Huh.
Like you have that level of work ethic in you.
Just stroking my ego, just stroking it.
I'm gonna stroke you right in the damn face. Anyway, folks, first of all, big mahalo to my brother Spencer for coming to hang out with me today. Tell people how they can get in contact with you or write you online and tell you that you're wrong.
Oh geez. Wow, thanks, Doc. Chris Ota is my Twitter handle.
Yes.
CHRIS Ota, OTA, just one word, Chris Ota. That's me on Twitter.
Oh my God. Oh God.
I'm just joking. That's like a really long running joke.
That is an extremely long running joke.
Yeah. Sudokrew is my company, I guess, if anyone wants software.
I thought Sudokrew meant like you had a fake crew.
It's like super user do crew. It's a Linux thing.
I know what super user is, ding dong.
Yeah. Sudo.
Here,
crew.
try this. Super user space restart space server enter. I'm just joking.
No.
RM sudo super try sudo space RM dot star.
You've just you've lost your entire audience.
Negative R.
They're like, this shit is too long.
No, they'll lose all their data because I just erased your whole hard drive.
No one's going to open their command line interface.
Most people don't even know where the hell that shit is. Anyway, thank you, Spencer, for hanging out. Guess we can go get some food now. people, thank you guys for watching the Solid Podcast. I know this was a crazy long episode. I might have to divide it up into 2 pieces because who the hell knew we were going to talk 2 hours and 10 minutes?
Sorry, man. I talk too much.
No, it's all good. It was a great podcast. You can find us, of course, on solid.fm is the website, or The Solid Pod on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And it's all going to be in the show notes. I'll put everything, the links and stuff we talked about, Spencer's books, his company, all of that. You can find it there. Please share with your friend. Don't forget to jump on iTunes and rate us. Give us a like. Give us a 5-star rating. And we'll see you again soon here on the Solid Podcast.
Congratulations for making it all the way through.
Aloha. They should get an incentive. We're going to give them free power.
The Solid Podcast has been brought to you by Landsberg Law Offices. If you ever need yourself a good lawyer, give my homie Marcus Landsberg a call at 808-230-7419. That's 808-230-7419. Also brought to you by Etched Aloha. If you ever need to get yourself something laser etched, laser engraved, or laser cut, or you're just looking for a custom gift, give us a call at 808-270-1926 or check us out online at etchedaloha.com. Thank you for listening to The Solid Podcast.